All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our little dress piece and we are going to just slip it over the top of the body just till it stops. All right. And optionally, you could add some lace trim to the bottom of this if you want. You could do all kinds of, you could put a little bit of tulle underneath here for the skirt if you'd like. Oh, hold on. We've got to add the tights first. Let's do that. So we want to get these tights on here. I'm going to go ahead and take off this little bit of excess that's on here. So give me just a moment while I do that. I'm going to turn it sideways to do that. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep it straight. And this will be up underneath her. So I'm just going to slip her little legs into these tights. All right. Now I'm going to glue myself, or you can even, as a matter of fact, let's do something a little bit different. Hold on, let me get a new piece of thread. I don't even think I need a piece that long. Hold on. Get rid of that one. All right. So what I'm going to do is same kind of thing I did on the bottom of the feet. I'm just going to start at the back and I'm going to go in and I'm going to tie it off. Just that way it doesn't pull out on accident. Okay. And then I'm just going to zigzag all the way around here and pull this tight. That way it'll stay up a little bit better. Now, if it bothers you to have it hanging out like this, you can tuck it under, just like we did with the shoe, with the sock. I'm sorry, the bottom of the body. Just tuck it under. So to lock it in place, I'm going to hold on to the where I'm stopping my thread, and then I'm just going to go through the body and tie my knot. I'm going to do it a couple more times. Okay, now I'm going to do it one more time right here. Okay, now I'm going to cut this excess off. and then I'm going to take my hot glue and I'm just going to hot glue the other side. Okay, so now I have my tights on and I'm ready to add the dress. So I'm just going to slip that dress right down over the top and try and make it even. Okay, next I want to add the lace. So I'm going to go ahead and take my piece of lace, and I just used the body to measure how much around I want it, and I wanted a little bit of an overlap at the top, but let me show you what I'm actually going to do. So if you don't want your cut edge showing, just fold it in. That's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm just folding that cut edge in so that it won't be seen. And then I'll be gluing the top together. Or you can also sew this. You can hand sew the top together, which actually I think I'll go ahead and do. Give me 1 second while I grab a needle and thread. Okay, so I'm going to take my needle and thread. I'm just going to make sure that this is folded over where I want it. And then I'm going to try to keep this in the center. So let me kind of do that really quick. All right, so I'm going to overlap them a little bit. And I want to make sure that I'm able to get to my neck piece really well. So let me come down just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm just going to go in from the inside first, pull it, and then I'm just going to tie a little tie. Oops. And then now I'm going to go back and forth. About 5 or 6 times is good. And then we'll just want to tie it off. And I like to do it twice. Okay, and then I'll just cut that extra off. All right, now we have our little cape on. We're going to go ahead and work on our sleeve. So I'm just going to slip that little sleeve that we made right onto there. Okay, and then I'm going to grab an extra piece of material. So I'm going to grab this piece right here. I'm just going to cut a piece off. You can do this a couple ways. You could either use this end of the material if you choose, so the ruffly kind of part like that, or you can use this end right here, which I'm going to do this time. So to know how much I want, I'm going to go ahead and just lay this. I want it to meet in the middle, and then I'm just going to roll it around, and that's going to tell me how much I'll need for that arm. And then I'm always going to cut just a little extra. I'm going to cut it all the way up, try to keep it fairly straight. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I got to take this one because I got to remember which arm this is. So this is the left arm, so I want to make sure I'm doing this on the right side. So my seam can be on the inside. So this is good the way that I've got it positioned. So I'm going to lay it flat on my lace right in the middle, and I want the middle to meet right here. So if I have extra, that's fine. And you notice I'm giving a little bit of overhang because I want a little bit of overhang on that sleeve, just a little bit. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to fold it so that I meet in the middle. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue right underneath here, right down here. So not up high, but down here. And this, if you decide to sew your arms on, this will allow you to be able to add the hot glue here, but to still be able to sew your arms on up higher. We are not going to sew our arms on though. We're going to use hot glue. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay that over. Add another little dot of hot glue in the same spot. I'm going to cut off this little bit of extra just for me. Now I'm also going to cut off this excess up here at the top, but I want to give myself plenty of room to work with, so I'm going to go up about here. So probably about 1.5 inches, I would say, 1.25 inches maybe above. And what I want to do now remember, this is going to be the side facing out. So what I want to do is I want to twist and fold so that it gives me a finished look in the front, and then I'll glue that down. So again, so actually you can kind of bunch it together if you want, and then twist and fold like that, and then I'll glue that. And I'm gonna actually cut off a little bit more because that's way more than enough that I need. So twist and fold. Or you can fold triangular, like it's like an envelope kind of, and fold it down that way as well. The thing with that is I feel like it gives it more of a pointed edge at the top, but it's completely up to you. So let me pull this back. I pulled it up a little bit. So again, twist and fold, and I'm just going to kind of hold that and add glue right here, same spot that we've been gluing already. Lay that down into that. And if I have any loose pieces, I'll just go in and fill those in, just being mindful that I'm staying in the same spot where I've been gluing. And there's my sleeve. So now we're going to work on the shoes. Got my 2 shoe pieces here. And this one looks a little bit smaller than the other one. I think it's just an optical illusion maybe. So I have 2 soles and 2 sides. So now I'm going to take, and you will need your baby shower booties for this. You don't have to use this. This gives more stability to your character. You can just put these shoes on and without having them over the top of that. So I want to be mindful of where I've traced my pattern. So I know it's on the inside. So for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a needle and thread and hand sew. You can also sew up the edge of the front if you'd like. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and start right here. And we'll just go up to right here. So we're just going on the curve and we're going to stop right there. Whoops, I guess I got to tie it off. So we're going to go inside first to start so nobody sees our little thread. And then just going to do that blanket stitch again. So make sure you go through your loop and then just move up. I know this is difficult to see on the black, but it looks the same as it does on the skin color. So I'm just going through, scooting over, making sure I go through my loop before I pull it all the way down, scooting over, go through my loop. All right, now I'm going to do it one more time right here in the corner to really secure this. Okay, now let me show you what we're going to do. So once you have your boot sewn, you're going to take and slip your boot right over the top of that baby shower bootie. Now, if you don't have enough space here, you can take a little bit of your polyfill, just a little, and you can stuff it in the front to really fill that space in. So it really gives it a good, hold on, a good full look to your shoe. So it'll look kind of like this. And then we'll end up gluing the sides down, okay? And then you'll have the ability to leave these open. So hold on, we're gonna go ahead and glue the sides around so that it stays on. Okay, and now let me get this other side. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is take our sole of our shoe and take another needle and thread, okay? I'm gonna start at the back. And I'm going to go in from the inside first. And then I'm just going to line this up right here with it. And I'm going to start stitching that same blanket stitch, but this time it's kind of at an angle, I guess, is what it seems like. And you'll just do that all the way around. All right, so now I'm almost back to the beginning and I'll just tie it off. Now, something to be mindful of when you're doing this, you want to add your hot glue on your shoe high enough up so that you're not running into it whenever you're sewing your shoe, because it is really hard to poke through hot glue. So just be mindful of that when you're doing this, if you're going to add the shoe inside. And there is our first witch's shoe. All right. Now we will work on the other one and get her shoes on her. I'll be right back after I'm done doing the other one. All right, so now we have our shoes done and our body ready, and then we are not quite ready just yet to glue on our arms. I want to wait another moment or two. Let's go ahead and work on the head. So here I've already drawn out some little lashes and a smile. Now the lashes are a place marker, but you can also add them if you choose with some black thread. And you would do them the same way that I'm going to show you how to do the mouth. And then you'll just go along the line. So the pattern that I've included has a template, and you can choose to do as much or as little as you'd like. And the way that I do this is I line it up with the bottom of my face, and that's where I start my mouth. And then you can add a place for the nose, the lashes, eyebrows as well. And some characters you'll end up adding all of them. Some characters you won't add as much. So I'm not going to do a nose. I am going to do eyes. So I want to show you how I do the eyes and the mouth. So first things first, we're going to grab some red thread. And I'm going to take this red thread, and it's very thin, so I'm going to double it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a knot in the back end of it, okay? And then I'm going to go in through the back, okay? So I'm going to lift her little hair cap up. And I don't want to start way down here at the bottom because I know that I'm going to have to put a hole for me to go up inside with the material, the neck. So I'm going to start off to the side just a little bit. You can see me kind of at an angle. I'm going to go in and I'm going to come out. And you could also do this if you choose before you sew on your pieces in the very beginning. But this is just another way to do this. So I'm just going to pull it. And then I'm going to skip a space. So I'm not right next to my first string. I'm going to skip a space. And then I'm going to turn around and go back in that first space. Right there. Okay. And then I'm going to move down. So I'm going to go back over, and then I'm going to go under. Okay. And again, I'm going to go into that first where I ended. I'm going to go under, and I'm going to go all the way over here to the other end. Okay, you can see it's going all the way across. And then I'm going to go in here, right where I left off. I'm going to come out right next to that same hole. And then just pull it. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back one. Actually, yeah. Yep, so I'm going to go back over to that space, skip a space. So I'm pulling, go through here. And then now you can see, so I'm one ahead, I'm going to come back out the back end. So I'm going to go way up here and come out. Okay, now I'm going to take my my iron, and I'm just going to hit that where my mark was and just get rid of the marks from my pen. Okay, you can see the little smile there. Now I'm going to tie this off over here to the side. Make sure you go through both loops. Pull tight, do it twice. This will not be seen once we glue everything down. Cut this off. Okay, so that part is done. Now if you'd like to add eyelashes, you can. I'm going to grab 2 little eye beads. Now if you bought a kit from me, then your kit would have included 3 different variations of the eye beads. And that's because all 3 make an adorable doll. I'm going to use these right here with the stem on them this time. You may have the flat ones as well that look like a button, and those are fine as well. But these are the 2 that I'm going to be working with. But before we start to add our eyes, we first need to make a place for them. So I'm just going to grab a needle and thread, and I'm going to start at the back again. Let's fold that back up, and I'm going to start up high, and I'm going to aim for the corner right here, just past where my little lashes are. So trying to be right at that point, okay? And then I'm just going to go, and I'm going to kind of make a little crisscross or a cross section, and I'm going to pull it in. So it creates kind of a concave. And I'm going to come down just a little bit, and I'm going to pull until I get that concave that I'm looking for. Okay, I'm going to go back in one more time and come back out. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. And you want to tie it twice. Okay, so I'm going to cut that one off and move over to the other side. I like to have the little cap on while I'm doing this, just so I can be mindful of where my placement is of my features. It helps me not get up too high. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those little lashes here in just a second. But let's go ahead and work on our pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some wire cutters, and I'm just going to cut this back part off as close as I can. I'm going to hold my hand. So try not to pinch yourself, but I'm just going to hold my hand so this doesn't go everywhere, and get it as close as I can. Okay, and then I'm going to take this other one, and I'm going to do the same thing. All right. Okay. Now, this is where I want to put my little eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these eyelashes that I used as a guide. Now remember, you can absolutely add eyelashes if you choose. Do it the same way that we did the little mouth. But I'm going to go ahead and not do that for this particular character. And then I'm just going to place my eyes right here in this spot. and make sure I like the look, and I do. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of hot glue. You can use super glue or tacky glue, however you want to hold your pieces onto your character. Okay. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of blush. And I like to test it out and kind of unload a little bit on my hand. And then I'm just going to go right here. And this will fade just a little bit. So just be mindful of that. And it'll blend in a little bit better here in just a moment. Okay, might add a little dot to the ears. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and put back on our hair cap. And I like to make sure it's fairly even on her head. Okay, so there's that. Now, we're going to want this part up for whenever we attach that to the body. So I'm going to go ahead and add the head now, and then we can work on adding the arms. So I'm going to pull down as much as I can the material. Okay, so I want to cut the hole right here where my finger is, which is roughly about, I would say it's about an inch from the seam. I don't want to cut too big of a hole. I want enough for my neck to fit in there, but not so much that it's a big gaping hole. So I'm trying to cut about the size that this is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and slip it in there first. I'm going to use my finger to kind of move some of this material around just a little bit. I mean the polyfill. Just to kind of get it out of the way and even up any space in here that I feel like might not be quite even. I'm going to add a tiny bit of polyfill so it feels like there's a little bit of a space right there. There we go. Okay, now get this back down. I'm going to go ahead and twist it up in there. And I love it. I love it, I love it. Okay, so now I'm going to take it back out. I'm going to squeeze in hot glue. Okay, and I'm going to insert it back in more carefully this time. All right. And then you can put that down. We'll trim this a little bit here in just a little bit, but for right now, that looks fabulous. Okay, so now we can go ahead and attach the arms. So I'm going to grab her arms and place them. Make sure I like the placement. right here. So I'm going to pinch them this way so they open up for me. And then I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of hot glue right there and right here. And then I'm going to lay those right onto that space. And I'll hold on to that for a moment. All right, now next we'll be working on the hat and the details like the little earrings, the hat, and her hair. And we'll be done. All right, so really quick, I want to show you an optional trick as well that you can do. So I'm going to go ahead and add a nose to this little one. And to do that, I'm going to take a little felting needle. Now this is, you can glue your nose on just like this if you choose. Or you can take a little felting needle and you can just kind of poke in there and add a little nose for your character if you'd like. And it's just a really subtle way that you can add a little cute extra detail to your character. All right. There you go. Okay, so now we're ready to do the bow for her little front part. And the way that I do that is I just use the little pattern that I included, and I just fold them over like this, and I'll glue. So let me show you real quick. I'm gonna add a little bit of glue right here in the middle. Fold it over, add another little bit of glue. Like this. Okay. And then I put it right here on this. Or you can just leave it like this if you choose. But I'm going to put it right here on this. Okay. And I'll actually clean this up just a little bit. I don't want it sticking out quite so far. Okay, and then I'll add my little jewel, if I can find it. There it is. Right to the center. Okay, and that'll go right here on the front of her dress. Right there. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this with a hairdryer just a little, a heat gun just a little bit because I moved that over. This is also a good time to clean up any strings or glue. Okay. Now, we are ready to work on our hat and work on the hair. So I've got my two pieces. This is my circle that I had earlier. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold my circle in half. And I'm going to cut some little slits in it. So I did one straight and then two at an angle. And now I'm going to open it and I got to cut two more. And these will get bigger. We're going to make these a little bit bigger. This is just to start with so we don't go too far, too fast. And then this is going to go on top of here and we're going to glue it. But first we want to make sure everything looks good. Okay, so I definitely want to cut in a little bit deeper. So I'm going to take and cut that way, and then I'm going to turn the opposite way and cut. That way I'm trying to keep a balance. Same, I'm going to cut there, then I'm going to cut directly opposite there, and then here, and then here. All right, so now we're a little bit bigger open. Let's check it. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to stick it inside. And that's perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glue gun and I'm just going to line right up here about a ½ inch in. I'm going to add hot glue, and then I'm going to lay my brim and then start kind of pressing it in. And I like to go across, directly across from each other, and then do the opposite across. And then we're going to let this set up. And we'll come back and finish it. So let's set that aside to dry. And now we're ready to work on the hair. Okay, so I have hair here, and I just have a bunch of scrap pieces that I'm going to be using. But I just want to start and just kind of get it going. So the way that I like to do this is I like to kind of wrap around to the back, okay, and we'll end up trimming some of this down. As a matter of fact, we can go ahead and do that a little bit. So I'm just cutting it a curve. Okay, get rid of my trash. All right, so the way I like to start is I like to start back here behind the ear, and I'll just come around and glue. So I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue right here. And then I'm going to work my way around. And then I'm going to come this way. Okay, and I'm just going to keep going. Now that I've made it back, I'm just going to start going up around. You want to be careful not to pull hard, because if you pull out of your glue, you'll not be happy about that. Okay, so now I'm just going to keep going around. Just gently lay the material on the hot glue. Okay, so now that I have got all of my space filled in, we cut off this little extra piece. Okay, so there is the beginning of our hair. Now I want to let this set for a second. Okay, now we need pigtails. So to do the pigtails, I'm just going to take another piece, since that's what I got, and I'm going to lay, I want 3 little pigtails. So we're going to have them, I'm just kind of measuring. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. All right. So now I'm going to glue these 3 pigtails on here. So to do that, I'm going to grab my hot glue. I'm going to go about middle and add a string of hot glue. Lay that on there. Okay. Do the same thing with this one. One more time. All right, so there are my pigtail starts. Let me make sure this sets really quick. Now I'm going to grab my, I'm going to use yarn and ribbon. Two pieces of ribbon work really, really well. I'm just going to use a piece of yarn to kind of hold it first. And I really like the look of the yarn. So I am going to tie right here. Actually, let me finish gluing this right here so it stays. And then I'll do the same thing on this side and make sure it stays. Okay, now I'm going to take my yarn and tie it. And I just like to tie it in a little knot and let it hang. And I'll trim these down here in just a moment to make them even. Okay, so there is the start of our finishing up our pigtails. Okay, So now I need to trim these up. First thing I'm going to do is just cut the loops. Then I'm going to make sure that they're even. So to do that, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. So this is right at her hand. Same. And then I'm going to trim these a little bit. And now I'm ready to add my ribbon. Let me grab my ribbon real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to take this. This is 24 inches of ribbon, and I'm just going to cut it in half. I'm going to tie it in her hair, just in little knots or little ties, however you want to do it. Okay. And you could even add one more if you so choose. I like 2. I think 2's plenty. So that's what I'm going to do. We did yarn for this one, but I love using the ribbon. So there is that. All right, now let's check her hat. And it seems to be dry. She is just precious. All right, let me add her earrings. So we're going to take these little beads. I just like to trim off the excess, and then I cut them in half. And you could even take, you know, a lighter or your heat gun or your hot glue gun and melt these down a little bit more. But I think once they are on, then you can't really see them. You can't see the little threads as much. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little dot of hot glue right here and put one on. And then I'm going to do the other side the same way. And put this one on. Okay. All right. So now she has her earrings on. And now let me tell you, so with the brooms, so I like to add my own ribbon, and these are a little bit too long. So what I did was I took this ribbon off. You have to be careful though, because it does kind of hold everything together a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and secure this little thread back on here. Okay. Cut this off. All right, and one of the things that I like to do is cut it down just a little bit. So I fan it out like this, and then I just cut down as much as I want to. Okay. And to me, that's much better as far as height-wise for her. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some of my ribbon. So I'll be right back. Let me grab some ribbon. Let's see. So I have this. We'll go ahead and add this ribbon. So let me add a little dot of hot glue. And then I'm just going to lay that right on there and wrap. And you can fancy it up however you like. I'm just doing this to match her little ribbon in her hair. I'm going to add another little dot of hot glue. And you could even add a little spider or something fun. And there is her little ribbon. So let's get her little ribbon. Okay, her hat. So now we want to add our little feather. I like these little feathers, and I just think they just make a great little addition. If you have any of your string left, you could even do something with that. I think I'm going to do that and glue it. Just to kind of give it a little more flair. And then I'll add my ribbon right there. I mean, my feather right there. So let me just go ahead and grab another little bit of hot glue. Get my feather right there. And then I'll add that to the side. So let me go ahead and glue that on. Right there. And there is your sweet little witch. There you go. All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this class. Thank you for participating. I can't wait to see your little witches that you make.